What is freedom? Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines it as no, I am just kidding. Today, we're gonna look at Attack on Titan, a fucking good ass manga, and the dynamics that Eren, the main character, has within his own personal journey throughout the entirety of it. What I first thought about the ending, what I think of it today, and what it showed us about Eren overall. Now, I know that's a lot of topics to tackle in one video, but I'ma still do it because, as we know, I like to go on tangents, and that's never gonna change. So if you don't like that, this ain't the channel for you, baby. Attack on Titan has aired for over a decade now. I think we can safely talk about spoilers here without anyone attacking me. Catch up to the ending before watching this, please. Okay? Ending spoilers. Okay, cool. From episode 1, or chapter 1 of the manga, Eren is showed as a boy who doesn't like being kept inside of the walls. He's a rebel. He don't like being inside of walls, okay? He feels like he wants to see what's outside of the walls, and one day he argues with his mom because Mikasa outs his intentions to join the Survey Corps when he's older, and in this fight he compares the lives that they lead to the lives of livestock, which you've gotta admit takes some balls for his age, you know? Like, that's savagery. But this is to show you who Eren is as a character and who he's always been. He feels like a caged animal living in paradise, never being allowed to see what's outside of the walls that he calls home. And this is all because the Titans inhabit all of those areas outside of those walls. And it's really dangerous out there. This intense caged feeling is a really big part of his character, and it leaves room for him to grow from just a protagonist to an anti-hero to eventually becoming the villain in the final arc of this like really layered anime. Eren is always showed to persevere through really tough times in this anime. An example of this appeared in like the first episode, which is when his mom dies and, you know, the walls are breached by the Titans. They don't really understand what's happening. It's all really portrayed well because everyone is just really confused. This hasn't happened in hundreds of years. No one is understanding how exactly the walls were breached, and as this is all happening, Eren has to witness his mom getting eaten by a Titan. Throughout all of this, he's trying to understand what it was that they did to deserve all of this, first of all, and he's trying to understand what the purpose is of them living within walls, if it's just to get eaten at the end of the day. So this is a very big moment for Eren. It causes the rest of his motivations for being part of the Survey Corps. He wants to find what is outside of the walls, what is happening, why the walls were breached, and why his mom was eaten, why he had to go through that. He was very angry and upset. But what I find so insane about this plot is that we did not know at the time how deep this story was really gonna go. Like, the fact that even that event, Eren's mom being eaten, was something that was accidentally caused by him. I still have a hard time understanding that. All of the plot twists of this entire manga had me whipping my hair back and forth. It went from there to the Marleyan warriors that were the reason that the walls were breached that day, to the basement, to the secret of a whole brother and a world that Eren had no idea about. Once we open that can of worms, Eren begins his fast-track descent down a fate that was already written. When he makes contact with Historia at the ceremony, her royal blood causes a reaction within him. It causes him to remember some glimpses of his father's memory at first, and then ultimately the rest of them. And when he gets access to those memories, it feels like from this moment, that's where we really see a shift in his character. His determination is insane from this moment on. And I think now that we have a completed work to analyze, we could really take a step back and examine what happened during this time. And that is really mind-blowing. The flashes of the memories that he saw in that moment were the memories of his dad killing the royal family and taking the founding titan. But what we didn't know at that time was the extent of what he saw. At the time, we only had the flashes of Grisha standing across from the victims, the royal family. And we have to assume that in that moment, he got the full cinematic experience. I can understand why he was so shook, and I can understand why homie looked like that at the beach that day. All of that was just laid out plain as day as the future events that were gonna take place. His past, present, future all existing at once as a result of his attack titan. Knowing that he was the one that was gonna put all of this in motion, it's just fuck, dude. Like, even researching for this video and thinking about it and talking about it now, it explains everything about his character so well. It explains why he was always moving forward, because those memories that he saw were all proof that everything that he saw was true. Everything that was coming was true. So his role in everything had to also be true, because was he not standing there as proof of what happened that day? He was truly the villain that he saw, but it was because he knew that there was a villain or an enemy that needed to be stopped in order for his loved ones to be able to continue the battle and be remembered as the ones who took him down. When he points across the sea when they're at the beach, and he points over there, and he just knows that freedom isn't what lies there for him anymore. What lies over there for him is just a battle for his comrades that have to stop him. And he can only move forward because that's the future that he has seen. It's really fucked up, but I get it. He can only move forward to prevent a nation who's gonna exact revenge, because why else wouldn't they? He had to do this to create heroes out of his friends who he knew could not agree with the evil shit that he was about to do, because he had to have them defeat him in order to show the rest of the world, we don't stand for this. We stand for unity and we stand for peace. We love Eren, but we aren't gonna stand by this. So they had to do it. And then who could tell that story better than Armin? I know, it's hard to wrap your head around an ending like this when you wanted the Titan curse to be eradicated. You wanted it to be a happy conclusion and everything to be right with the world after Ymir was released from her curse. I get it. It hurts to see that nothing was fully and completely resolved after all the pain and suffering that they all went through. But I think that that's the message that this story was trying to send. That there aren't ever any winners in war, because despite living, I don't think the survivors of parody will ever be able to fit in anywhere ever again. Their history is always going to be marked by this, and I think that's the point that this story is trying to make. The perception that years of persecution can have on a civilization as a whole, despite them never doing a damn thing personally to bother or antagonize anyone. That can often have a really lasting effect on the later generations as they continue to try to continue living, whether they deserve to or not. And that's just the really sad reality. I think this is the reason why war never ended for them. And this is touched upon in the chapter where they're all sitting around the campfire talking about their history as Marlians and Eldians. They're all sitting there with a common goal, trying to take down Eren before he completely tramples civilization. And they're just sitting there like, I think this is why we continue to have war, because we don't talk to each other. And it's because regardless of anything, these people are still devils to them, and they'll find any reason to blame the problems of now on the mistakes of their ancestors from the past. I'm not sure that Eren mentioning the Marlians not being able to take immediate revenge for a reason, because despite trampling a large portion of the population with the rumbling because they were afraid of them retaliating on parody, it's still a really unforgivable, violent act. He destroyed like 80% of the population with the rumbling. And it's definitely going to have consequences for them in the future. Because despite whatever Eren's goal was for his loved ones, it's gonna lead to more conflict. At least that was my takeaway. I did enjoy the ending. At first, I really was bothered by how fast it went. The pacing was a little it was a little jarring because I wanted a little more to the explanations of the origins of the Titan curse. Like, there were a lot of things that I think deserved a little more spotlight, but I do understand that ending an intricate and detailed story like this is not easy. Sometimes you're afraid that you're giving too much, sometimes you're afraid you're giving too little. So this was just a case of too little, and it's okay. I still think it was really complex, and it detailed the effects of war really well. More losers than winners, and too many casualties. Especially the parts with the Jaegerists and the Eldians trying really hard to come to an understanding of where Eren was coming from, and Flock insisting that he understands Eren's plan because he told it to him from the very beginning. I understand why Eren did that. He needed some support on the inside. He needed somebody to allow his plan to have a foothold. But it also caused a lot of conflict for his Survey Corps friends who were trying to fucking go against him. It's just so sad how people become so brainwashed to the point where they think that they're doing the right thing, and they're truly not. They're not helping at all, and in the end it really serves against what everyone is trying to do. And I see a lot of that in our day-to-day life. So when I saw the Flock character, I was like, oh my god, this is hitting too close to home. One thing that I was not a fan of was the fact that Levi was the lone survivor and Hanji-san didn't survive. That fucked me up, bro. And especially the reason why she had to sacrifice herself. I just hate Flock. Like, motherfucker doesn't die. And the fact that she ended up having to sacrifice herself because of his bitch ass just... it hurts my soul, okay? I would say that was like probably the only thing about the ending that I would truly want to change. Because I think Hanji-san, fuck, she was one of the good ones, bro. Like, how you gonna do her like that? Ugh. fucking euthanized me capping ass bitch is over here alive and Hanji-san has to die. I'm sorry. I'm just upset. I'm very upset. I did like the conclusion to Zeke's story. Zeke ended up being one of my favorite characters in this show. He was so complex. The fact that his upbringing was so similar to Grisha's, and it's just so sad. He just wanted a dad who loved him, and he always felt like he wasn't good enough for his father and that his father rejected him. And then he finally has that moment with his dad in Paths, and his dad tells him, Zeke, is that you? My son, I was a terrible father. My God. That was animated so well in the anime too. The fucking voice actor did that scene some justice. Fuck. Part 2 of the final season has been amazing. The rumbling was captured so well. Don't even get me started on that theme, man. I will never stop standing for that theme. Rumbling, rumbling, it's coming. It really hurt me to see Mikasa have to deal with all of that weight by herself. She truly had to bear all of that. And Armin too, because he had to bear a lot of the stuff that he had to bear by himself. It was really hard seeing the three of them go from a really cohesive unit of friends to three people that had their own, like, they had 3 separate tasks that they had to do, and they had to complete them all by themselves in their own time. That was fucking, they did amazingly, but I think it had such a heavy weight on them mentally. Oof. Like, every single frame with Mikasa just hurt my heart. I love that girl, man. She's so strong. The characters carried so much weight with fucking grace. There were some points where I doubted where the story was going because of the pacing. Like the entire piece with them turning into Titans for an instance, similar to what happened in Ragako at the very end when it was Armin versus Eren. But I think that after like closer examination, because I obviously read it a couple times, I wanted to read it again before I did this video, I do think that it captured all of the chaotic effects of what Eren had to endure with himself at the very end. And essentially, it's kind of like Eren was throwing everything at the wall at this point to basically force his friends into killing him. I'm not sure if anyone else like saw it that way, but I kind of did. He truly had to become a menace in order for Mikasa and company to have no other choice but to end him, because there was no talking to him. It was at the apex of their journey that had come to its end. A lot of people weren't fans of this panel in particular, but to me, it really showed us who Eren was this entire time. A boy who loved Mikasa, but put his feelings outside of the situation. Like, he put his feelings for her outside of the situation, for her sake and for the sake of everyone. What was he gonna do? He knew that Mikasa had to make a choice. The choice was going to be to kill him. Like, that's just how I felt about it. He loved her so much that it hurt him deeply to think of her with someone else, but that didn't change anything. What waited for him was death. He didn't want to die, but as the boy who wanted freedom as a child, he reached the other end of the sea and got the bittersweet freedom he so longed for. It just wasn't in the form that he expected. I hope you liked my interpretation of the manga ending. I know that this ending divided the fuck out of the fandom, but I felt that for this manga, it was right. Let me know in the comments how you felt about the ending. Did you hate it? Did you hate it at first and then come to like it? Did you kind of go, I didn't really like that, and then read it again and then kind of realize, like me, that it fit. I don't know. You tell me. Thanks for watching. I don't know what's next on the list. We have a shit ton of chaos going on. I think we're just gonna call this the Chaos Channel from now on, because I literally just talk about whatever I want. Because, yeah, this is my channel and I talk about whatever I want. See you next time.